What is creativity? In my previous two videos on thinking outside the box and on sliced bread, I talked about creative thinking. We saw how innovation was far more than mere invention, although invention, that light bulb moment, is essential. It is located at the center of a wide network of other procedures, without which nothing is achieved. In this video, I'll be looking at how some great thinkers of the past have analyzed creativity. I'll start with the famous 19th century German scientist Hermann Helmholtz, who mapped out creativity in three stages: saturation, incubation, and illumination. Saturation, filling the mind with the problem until the point where extra data won't take you any further forward. Incubation, keep thinking. Mental activity must continue even subconsciously. Illumination, the light bulb comes on. Not some single moment, but the culmination of a long drawn out process. Another great mind, the French mathematician Henri Poincaré, then added the extra notion of verification. Verification, checking the idea empirically. Now, numerous other authors have extended this list over the years, with the original list of four being topped and tailed with first insight, vaguely recognizing a problem, preparation, collecting the necessary resources for dealing with it, evaluation, asking is the result of any value, any use, elaboration, taking it further, adjusting, expanding its utility, and two further entries hover over the whole process. Determination, keeping going despite frustrations and setbacks. Remember how Rohwedder persevered with his bread slicing apparatus despite kidney disease and his workshop burning down. Then there's context and timing, being in the right place at the right time, so that you can convince others to use your invention, and that they begin to see it as the greatest thing since sliced bread. Those who have watched my previous video on the greatest thing since sliced bread will recognize all these stages in operation. And in that particular case, we saw that the right time was when the mix of pre-sliced bread, wax wrapping paper, and Strite's pop-up toaster came together to catch the imagination of America's public. Most innovations are variations that spring from prior innovations, as was the case with the Toastmaster. Exactly as Herbert Kroemer, the 2000 Nobel Physics laureate, explains in his Lemma of New Technology. He says, the principal applications of any sufficiently new and innovative technology always have been and will continue to be applications created by that technology. The same can be said of innovation in general. However, most innovations do not come from orthodox creators, but from users at the margins, who are free to experiment with radical ideas. What Kroemer is implying is that for a technological innovation to be really successful, numerous people must run with it to create a whole raft of derivative applications that could not even be imagined by the original inventor. If an inventor restricts what can be done with his work, in effect banning derivative works, then he is limiting its potential, cutting off future revenue streams. Suppose that General Electric had been allowed to copyright the concept of an electric toaster in 1909. Then there would have been no derivative attempts, Strite would not have created the pop-up toaster, and there would not have been sliced bread. product of the creative mind comes into existence in a flash or in a vacuum. It co-evolves with other artifacts. There's nothing new under the sun. Every invention or creation stands on the shoulders of past giants. But it also needs the popular acceptance in the marketplace of other prior inventions, which together spark interest so that the novel insight doesn't sink without trace. Timing is everything. However, if access to those inventions is restricted, then there will be no popular experimentation, no variation, and no creativity. There is no knowing in advance what the really useful applications will be. Wide-scale experimentation is needed. The more the merrier. Let a million flowers bloom. Natural selection will bring the successful innovations to the fore. According to Saul Godin, unless the idea of the innovation's utility has captured the imagination of the market, unless the idea has spread, then there is no selection, natural or otherwise, and so nothing happens. Overcharging for or overprotection of intellectual property and other antitrust acts will ensure that the innovation stays in the wilderness. There is always a mass of creativity at the margins. Not all of it talented, it must be admitted, but some real talent is out there among the dross. And if these margins are suppressed, so much of that potential will be lost. There is a universal in all acts of creativity. Inspiration comes from the unfettered use of the past, in art, science, and business. The fact is, although each invention has only one mother, the inventor herself, the seeds come from many fathers, many of them unknown. That work too may have many children, not all necessarily offspring to be proud of or even profitable. However, if derivative works are blocked and only a self-selecting elite, possibly defined by money or social connections or professional membership, or if only these elite are allowed to experiment, the now passive consumers are prevented from becoming creators. Most people will be shut out of the loop and must look passively on from the wings at the world's creative legacy, like eunuchs in a harem, where only the guy in charge gets to play with the goods. Then innovation a la Kremer's lemma stops, and we are left with a drab world devoid of innovation. Thank you.